friends, welcome back to my channel. And for today's vlog, what I will be doing is that I'm actually preparing to do a art session right now, and I'm just going through some of my little sketchbooks here. Now I put together these little sketchbooks because I think they're really fun. They allow me to work with the surface and allow me to do a lot of practicing, and at the same time I don't feel too overwhelmed by finishing a big sketchbook, and I could put the amount of pages in that sketchbook that I know I can work with. I figured more or less the amount of pages I like to work with is like 32 pages or 20 sheets in each sketchbook, and it just gives me that flexibility to make it smaller and to make it with surfaces that I know that I want to try and I want to test out, and at the end I can tell you all about them. Okay, so let's try first with the ones that I have completed. This is one of the miniature ones, and this is basically a Pokemon prompt sketchbook where I have just a bunch of Pokemon names, and I drew them and then I colored them with the Winsor & Newton AliExpress watercolor that I got. And yeah, you have to excuse some of them, they're not really drawn perfectly, but this little sketchbook I usually carry it around with me, and it keeps me practicing a lot, so I don't have to feel too overwhelmed by it. And this is the one here. Then we have another one. Now these are completed. These ones here are completed. This one just say let's draw, and it's basically just a practice sketchbook. The medium I use most in these are markers. I think there's an illustration here where I did a pen illustration, and this is where I was testing out. I think this was the basic watercolor marker. This is the Prismacolor. Now basically what I do with these sketchbooks is that when I'm about to do an art session, I would use these sketchbooks to practice to see how the medium work with these surfaces. Some of them, like this one, I don't really color, I just leave it as is. Maybe I might use it as line art for a different illustration. Here's one where I tried out the Prismacolor. So yeah, these little sketchbooks, and I'm sure you remember these little buddies here. Here is where I use the basic marker. Yeah, just doing little practice sessions, and the end of the sketchbook. A cat and a big bug. This surface is actually the Derwent watercolor academic paper. I enjoy this surface. The one thing I don't seem to enjoy is that I thought it was the actual medium I was using, which was a Stylex watercolor, but it gives the washes a grainy effect because this is the Winsor & Newton, and it has this grainy effect on it. I'm not sure if it's how I did it. I believe this is also the Winsor & Newton that I used here for this little horsey. And it just has this grainy effect to it. So I'm not sure. I have been working with the surface with another medium, and I don't seem to have that effect with it. So but when you use it with watercolor washes, it does produce a grainy effect. That's what I've noticed with this surface. Okay, so these are the much older ones. Here I am trying to do clouds. It's just trying to produce. This is also another sketchbook I carry with me. These are my handmade watercolor paints. I was doing some swatching with them. Then I started to do different poses. Just trying to see how to better my understanding of figure drawing. I believe this is where I practice with the water-soluble graphite. More poses. I believe these poses were also colored with the Paul Rubin watercolor paints. There's my OC September, and there's her little buddy Theo. There's another OC of mine. This is October. I'm almost to the end. There's my little cup. So yeah, it's just looking at these surfaces and seeing how I can work with them. And the last surface I'm looking at, this was made from the Pacon drawing paper carton, the drawing carton. I enjoy this surface here. I really do. It takes markers really, really well. It really does. Again, some uncolored line art here. It also is really good when it comes to coloring pencils or colored pencils. So yeah, more September, more swatches. Just yeah, this is done with the Marco Pastel Square C600. I believe this was a challenge that I did, the draw in place challenge. Here's another one. I think these were the Bailey challenge, BJ Dell, I think that's the name of the challenge I was doing, and he had these prompts and I just put them together, and I try to put at least 3 or 4 prompts together and draw it that way, which I absolutely adore because it kind of limits the amount of pictures I have to draw. So I only drew like 5 pictures. I think it was a 30-day challenge he had. This was a redraw of a painting, a picture that I had. Here's another one. I think this was just me trying to look at different configurations and again finishing off the piece and just doing some prompt lists. That brings me here. Let me push this a little out of the way. That brings me here, and these are basically the surfaces that I am working with, and some of them I have yet to work with. These are the ones here that I am working with currently. These ones I am working with all 6 of these surfaces, and these are the ones that I'm not working with, or I'm not working with as much at the moment. When I say surfaces, I'm actually talking about the papers that I'm using, and these books or sketchbooks here are made from different papers. Like for instance, this was made with the Pacon watercolor paper. This is a 90-pound weight paper. I generally use this miniature sketchbook here to do swatches and mixing in. Yeah, so it's just studying colors and color mixing. I think I featured it before in a previous vlog, just looking at how to do different color mixing with the different watercolor mediums. This one is just say let's sketch, and this one was made with the Derwent drawing paper. This is a 67-pound weight paper. I even tried to see how it looks with graphite colored pencil. I think there's a watercolor pencil illustration in here. And like I said, this is what I do with these surfaces. I put them in these little little miniature sketchbooks, and I try to test out the surface, see what the surface can take. Instead of using the whole page, it's just better for me to put them in these little sketchbooks here and test out these surfaces. So I know that this can take very, very, very light washes, but I cannot be too heavy with the watercolor illustration. I also have this one here. This is made with basic, I believe this is made with the basic sketching paper, and this just say using pens. Basically it's just that, just use ink pens only in this, as you can see. And basically just look at observation, see how I can lighten my load now, lighten my hand, lighten my touch. Just practice in form with different types of pens. And yeah, this is just basically what this sketchbook is about. It's just for pen use. You have another one here. This is actually my Inktober sketchbook that I put together, and I've mentioned it before. I believe I would put up that vlog or that video where I talked about the Kelpie Spirit Natural Witches prompt list that I've been doing. I said I was probably going to do like maybe 14 of them and then stop, and then use the rest of the remaining part of this book for November. And I've reached at day 11, and I'm thinking that's a good place to stop because I feel unmotivated at this point. And it's not the prompt list, it's just me feeling unmotivated and wanting to try new things. Okay, and then we have this sketchbook here. This is made from the Pacan drawing paper. Now, this is a paper I love and I use a lot. This is where I was doing using a prompt list to study composition and using a prompt list of backgrounds to study composition. And this is where I really put into practice the rule of thirds and distancing, and try to I actually also look at line weight as a means of studying composition. The prompt list is just about 8 prompts, and I will put them up in this video so you can see them, because it's only like 8 prompts. I believe this one was featured on a video where I used the Koh-i-Noor Hartmut tritone pencils. And most of these are already drawn, it's just to be colored. So if I have a coloring pencil I want to test out, or if I want to do a color with me session, I could just pull up any one of these line arts and just go to town without having to draw it. This one I think I featured on my Instagram. This is where I was using the Prismacolor Premier pencil, and I was actually trying to put in practice the use of white and trying to really make it look as bright, and put into practice all those everything that I've learned using colored pencils. It's just a bunch of illustrations, and as you can see, this is not finished yet, so I'm just basically using it to try out different colored pencils. Here's another one I'm working with. This one is made from the Sargent Art watercolor paper. I believe I would have used this. You would have seen me do this picture in a paint with me session. Yeah, this is where I also do the swatches for the Centrum watercolor paints that I have. I did some illustration here. I drew my water bottle. Just some easy thing here. This was made with the Centrum. This book hasn't finished yet, so it's just basically to show you some of the illustrations that I've used. This is where I actually test out the different mediums I'm using within the surface I'm going to be using it with. So this is here. These are the surfaces that I barely use. What I have here is my unconventional trading cards. I have them here. I think I did a few of these, but I just need to finish off the rest, so I have the rest here to finish. This is Let's Do Graphite little sketchbook here, miniature sketchbook, and it's exactly what the name says. It's only graphite. I believe this was made from the basic watercolor, basic sketching paper, and it's just graphite in here where I could do different practices, but only in graphite and charcoal. This one is color mixing and palettes. I think I've featured this before. This is where I do my mixing with colored pencils and coloring pencils. Yeah, you have seen this before. I don't have to go over this. And you have also seen this before. And I still have yet to paint these pictures. I don't know what I'm waiting on. I've already stuck them in here, so it's just for me to paint them. I don't know what I'm waiting on. This sketchbook too, you have seen before. This is black paper. This is made from the Pacan chalk pad. I believe that is it. Heavyweight chalk pad. It's just black paper, and it gives me a great way to use tone paper with different mediums. Because this can take watercolor weight, I could use it with watercolor, which is really, really cool. Here's another one. This is where I test out all my pastels. I do have some chalk pastels here. I figured this was made with pastel paper, the Strathmore pastel paper. I think I've featured these before in a channel. And see, it's beautiful. This one is a watercolor sketches, and this is only for watercolor. And this is made with the B 100% cotton watercolor paper. I have yet to use it because I have yet to work with this surface. So this one is a preview for this vlog because I have not used this yet. And yes, it is made from the B Paper Company, 100 watercolor paper, 100% cotton, 300 GSM. Yet to use it, but I will get to this book. Here's another one. This one is almost, this one has been used. This is made from, I believe this is made from drawing paper. I didn't indicate it here, but I think it's made from the pecan drawing paper. And yeah, it's just colored pencils, markers, pens, just trying to get a feel for the different mediums I have. Today is a sketchbook that I haven't opened as yet either. This one is made from the pecan drawing carton. The pecan drawing carton is 185 GSM, which makes it a very thick paper, and it's very good for markers. It takes markers really well. The only problem is it does have a lot of bleed through, so you will need to get some kind of support. I use this piece of Bristol board here, and I put it behind my page that I'm working on, and it doesn't cause any bleed through. As you can see, I use this a lot because I also use it when I'm doing coloring with coloring pencils or markers, so that I don't have any indentation in my paper. And these are just pieces of cereal boxes. I like the toneness of the paper, and I have it here to work with as an unconventional surface. So yeah, that's it. That's basically a quick sketchbook tour and a quick insight into my sketchbooks. Each sketchbook has a different purpose. They have a different use. They have a different meaning. Some of them, like this one, has been split into doing different teaching sessions for me. I do also have other sketch pads that I use where I do studies and stuff, but I want to feature only the ones that I have put together, and I want you to see the usefulness of when you buy a surface. You can make these little miniature sketchbooks out of them, or trading cards, and you can use them and just basically put that surface to work. If you believe you want to use watercolor with that surface, like I did with the Derwent academic sketching pad, let's see how it works, what warping, and you can basically test those out so that when you do an illustration, you know the limitation of that surface. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey, and as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.